sometimes the comfort zone is the misery zone.
Ooh, say more.
Well, whether we are attached to it or not, or whether we acknowledge it or not, the staying in a miserable, stuck place is more comfortable, at least for a time, than taking the risk to move out of that spot.
Like, where am I right now? I've never heard MaryAnn mention this before.
Right. And there came Transatlantic Karen. Everyone, have you met Transatlantic Karen?
Yeah, the Transatlantic. Yeah, that's when
I like her.
starring in a classic film from the 40s. But we digress.
Hello, everyone. It's time for the breakdown. Wooka, 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 wooka.
Okay, I need more moves. Okay. I just realized you can't do the same
That
move.
was Piper's move, actually. You stole that from Piper.
Okay, Piper's my daughter. Where do you think she learned it from? Just saying.
True. It's a great move. Okay, so we are breaking down Paul Coury's episode.
Yes.
And it's been a minute since I've listened to it, so I can't wait to hear, Karen, what you thought about this.
Oh my gosh, the different things that I keyed into. And I very much enjoy getting to hear from people from different spheres, from different spaces, talking about the leadership element, right? Which carries through and is very unifying, but also things that are unique to them. So
Yeah.
I'm telling you, every episode, I'm like, well, now I want to go see all of his hotels because this care for the spaces and the
Yeah.
experience of the visitor. And just that leadership of saying, even sometimes I'll walk in and I'll see something and I'll immediately start changing it and making it the way I want it to be. And just, I don't know. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I love the level of care for that.
Well, and the passion that he has.
Yes, the
For the
passion of
work.
things I would never even think of, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
I love a good experience when I'm having it, but I'm not thinking about, oh, they placed that table there or they did this with the aesthetic. I'm benefiting from it, but I
Right.
don't have that eye to go, oh, I know why they did that.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was just such, but as a leader
Yeah.
and as a professional, one of the first things that really jumped out at me, or that was just like, I love this, was when Paul was talking about you doing the survey with his team. And I think their first survey. And I love the humility of him just saying, hey, the results maybe weren't what I expected, what I thought they would look like, what I wanted them to be. And I love how there was just this shift to how do we make it better? How do we improve? And he talked about some of the improvements that they made. And this was around communication specifically, I think, was where it came up. And then he talked about how those improvements helped to raise those numbers. But having done a lot of surveys with a lot of leaders, I have seen what the various responses can look like. And it is not completely unheard of for a leader to look at the results and immediately try to explain them away.
Right.
Right. And rather than sitting with them and going like, ooh, what does this mean? And maybe this is a little hard to hear, and having that humility to say, all right, I asked people to tell me and they have. And now I've got to manage that, pivoting more into here's the reasons why this isn't true or accurate, or, they don't have this context, and really shifting the focus. So I just love his perspective on that.
Yeah.
And the positive result of it, of being able to say, I'm going to solutioning. And then that solutioning is responding. It's solving the problem and giving people what they need, versus saying like, oh, I don't have a heart to hear this, so therefore it must not be true.
That's right. And that's something we work hard at doing as we step into this work with our clients, is to say, we hope to hear some unexpected things. We hope that people are honest enough to bring us things that we hadn't heard before, because then we know we're gathering a broad spectrum of opinions, and we can almost guarantee there will be things to improve on. And that's what we want. So let's go in with that expectation. And apply the growth mindset of, we're not asking this so we can give ourselves a trophy. We're asking this because we want to improve. And from this point forward, we've got to make sure we're creating a system where there's safety in giving this feedback, and that people see that we respond. So we just get better and better and better.
Yes. And I think that speaks to the value of having somebody walk that with you
Mhm.
and being able to look at it and kind of explain, this is what we're doing. Here's what we want it to do. Here's what we'll do in response, and really having that partner, because anybody can ask questions, right, or create a survey, but it's really then what do you do with it? How do you respond to it? And then having somebody coach you through that, because
Mhm.
there could be difficult moments, right, or unexpected things that as a leader you maybe need a thought partner or coach around. So
Yep. Yep. What else did Paul say that you found interesting?
Um, I loved his discussion around building your team, right?
Mhm.
So that idea of you hire great people, you let them do great work. Clearly, this is a one for me, right? Like this idea, hire great people and then let them do it.
Mhm.
But one of the things he said, and this is not an exact quote, so don't get mad at me if it's not exact, but something along the lines of, if I'm still making all the decisions, then something is wrong,
Yes.
right? Or everything is wrong, right?
Mhm.
And just this idea, and for him, I mean, literally his name is in the business.
Right.
And to be able to say, how do we create the experience of Paul Coury as a system, as
Mhm.
an organization, as a company,
That's right.
but Paul Coury, the person, cannot be, putting a fingerprint all over everything.
That's right.
So how do we get there, and then how do we sustain that?
Mhm.
That was really fascinating to hear him speak about.
Yeah, and to invest in people, and he said that, I think it wasn't that long, Karen, after you came on full time when he was saying that, and he was like, "Make the investment in the people," and I'm like, "I'm doing it, I'm doing it," it's like that because it's you're giving us more leverage
Yeah.
that, when we have people in an organization that can handle things we can't handle and take us to places we couldn't go alone, then it's opening up vistas for us,
Yes.
and it's the most important investment that we can make.
Yes. Well, and it was so funny. I love that you brought that up, because as I was listening to that, I was going, okay, when did they record this? Right. I was kind of thinking back around the timing, because you were speaking, it was kind of that thought around, okay, if I bring somebody in and I don't have to do this anymore, what am I going to do? How am I filling that space? So I
Yeah.
was kind of, I was thinking about what was the timing. And now, hindsight 2020, knowing all of the things that you have visioned and brought to life over the last few months, I was kind of curious, like, okay, were you already there of knowing, like, okay, I'm seeing it happen and I'm seeing it play out? Or were you more like speaking it into existence of, I'm stepping into that and I know it's going to come, and I'm walking out in faith that that's going to happen?
Yeah, there was a little bit of the and I had coached other leaders through this around the fear and the sense of being less than, that if I give some of this away, then what's my importance? And so
Right.
I knew the process to go through of, well, we have to have a different vision now. I have to have a list of things that have been on my wish list that I've not been able to work on, that now I'm excited to work toward. And I
Mhm.
realized in that I had my wish list, but it was so far off, and I needed to draw it closer. And so, but the initial, it was and this is where the negative things that we feel can be our guide rather
Mhm.
than being, held hostage by them or being afraid of them. I felt a little bit worried and a little bit triggered about not being engaged in things, and that was from a place of fear. So, that was my opportunity to coach myself and then say also, "Okay, what is more rewarding and what helps me transform this environment?" So it helps make it better for all of us, not just me, not just the team, but for all of us, and really get recentered around that. And once I started practicing it and just talking to some of those fearful emotions and talking to you guys about it too, because I
Yeah.
think I even said, there's a little bit of a about letting some of this stuff go. And
Right.
I'm just coaching myself and supporting myself through it. Then things started to open up. And that's perpetuated it. Okay, like this is working, keep going, and developing the systems of at what level do I stay engaged so I can help
Mhm.
provide oversight and so that you all feel supported.
Right. Right. And we do. And I think just that intentionality, and you're very good about speaking it, where you would say, okay, I am choosing to be working over here because this is what's going to help us to grow. This is what's going to move us forward. So whether it was just communicating for our benefit or coaching in the moment and reminding yourself, like, I think it's been
Oh,
really, really effective. And I think about all these things that wouldn't have come to fruition, wouldn't have come into being if you stayed in that comfort zone, which can be easy to do, right? Of I'm good at this, I've proven at this. I'm this is a space where I know that I can be
mhm.
and it's known and I don't have to think about it quite the same way as I want to expand over here. It's very easy to slide and hang out in that space versus go into more of that space of stretch.
Yeah, and you're making me think about the comfort zone. Sometimes the comfort zone is the misery zone.
Ooh, say more.
Well, the whether we are, attached to it or not, or whether we acknowledge it or not, the staying in a miserable, stuck place is more comfortable, at least for a time, than taking the
Sure.
risk to move out of that spot.
Yeah. Like kind of like the devil,
Yeah.
I'm only going to leave the building if it's on fire, right? Like
Mhm.
just that idea of it can take a big catalyst to
Yeah,
really get us to make a move that we know is the right move because comfortable doesn't always feel good, but it can be known, it can
yeah,
be safe, right? And so
mhm,
how does that present itself
yeah.
in different ways?
And how often is the place that you're comfortable a miserable place? So people we know who love
Right.
drama, people we know who, stay depressed or stay anxious,
Base stock.
like,
Yeah.
I can look having been in some of those places, I can look back now and say that in some ways I wasn't in control of it, and
Mhm.
in some ways I had a choice.
Right.
Now I have a choice. So I'm not to minimize any of those things, but how often, if we use drama triangle again,
Mhm.
how often am I sitting in that spot of being unempowered through either anger and blame, through pity of others and need to rescue, or pity of myself and need
Mhm.
to be rescued? Am I sitting there and creating my own misery and calling it comfort?
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. It's that. It it's familiar. And this is so interesting too. I was thinking about this. Like, this is you're such a strategist and you didn't even know it. The beauty of waiting to do these debriefs and having a little space is being able to talk about this, in this way of saying, like, well, this is where we were at this point and where are we now?
Right.
And being able to really see the growth through that and
Yeah.
why it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you that you looked at it that way and said, I'm gonna stick it out. I'm going to try something different. And
Yeah.
now, we're all reaping the benefits, as will the world, as you continue
Yes.
to
Yeah.
envision new things. So we're all
Please.
benefiting. We're all
Agreed.
benefiting from this
I hope
mindset for
so.
sure.
I hope so. Well, and this is a neat part of the story too, is that so far guests of the, podcast have been clients of ours,
Yes.
a few authors that I've been connected with, and so people that have either a history with us or similar experiences, and the conversations are just so rich to see how these ideas are a part of our story, and so many people who wanna do amazing things in the world, and like, locking arms, as we often say, and moving forward together to make big things happen. It's exciting.
Yes, it is. And the recurring themes too, right? When you're seeing these different people who have all been successful in different spaces and you're seeing some patterns in what they're sharing, they're really giving you the secret sauce, right? The
Yeah.
things that you need to know in order
Yeah.
to be able to achieve. And thank goodness, right? I think it's amazing that people are willing to pay it forward that way and just be honest and humble and share
Yeah.
their experiences, share what works, share where they skin their knees, right? Those
Yeah.
are those are some of the best moments that we learn from.
Mhm.
And so I appreciate the authenticity that your guests bring
Yeah,
in sharing things.
absolutely. Hey, noticers, if you're dreaming of glowing, healthy skin, you must try Hun Azul Korean skincare. Myung Chong has been transforming skin for 27 years with facials so good they create the Henna Azul glow. I've been going to her med spa for years and my skin looks better than ever. Her products use medical-grade ingredients that truly nourish your skin and keep it radiant. Visit hennaazul.com to explore her amazing products and services. That's HANNAISUL.com. Now go get your glow.
But on another note,
Yeah. What else did Paul say?
can we just talk about jungle motives for a sec? Because
Okay.
I can't with anything that's named after animals. I'm like, what are we doing?
Okay, so I'm going back to the origin story. So I remember, so I
This is the
knew,
first time I'd ever heard that. And I'm like, we're all talking and I'm tracking, and all of a sudden it's like, and you're a tiger. Rawr. And I'm
so
like, what happened?
the
Where did we?
record just scratched,
Yeah.
right? Uh,
Yeah. Back up.
so I was introduced to Jungle Motives by a client early on in
Okay.
the life cycle of collective growth. And this client had used it just as a little like fun, like warm up game with their team. And
Okay.
is it the answer to everything? No, but like a lot of the different things, it's for profiles. So it could be
Mhm.
colors, it could be animals, it could be this, it
Right.
could be that. And so I played with that one a little bit. It was free. And I remember meeting with Paul because the first engagement we did with Corey Hospitality was a leadership retreat. And he wanted some kind of team building. And
Mhm.
we were doing Enneagram a lot. And I really loved doing Clifton Strengths or Strengths
Yeah.
Finders, and they
Mhm.
wanted something a little bit lighter. And I said, "Okay, how about Jungle Motives?"
Jungle
Yes.
motives.
And so they ended up really enjoying it, and we worked with it, and then we took the retreat that we used with their team, on a road show basically, and did some
Oh.
of their hospitality leadership groups around the country. And there was one group that had some HR leaders who were just like you.
Oh, okay, this is an HR thing. All right, so that's why you're like, it's the HR people like you.
Yes, the people that actually like
They ruin all
data,
the fun.
that like evidence-based things and data-backed, protocol that were like, "Could we have a little more information on how this is actually supportive of leadership development?" And I was like, "Come on, have a little fun."
Like, we're just having funsies. It's just for funsies. It cracked me. I mean, I love all the assessments. I'm like, let me do all the things, right? This is more like, what Harry Potter house are you in or something? I don't know.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like, just as I'm totally here for it.
Yeah.
And then I know folks who are super, super data where they're like, talk to me about the reliability and the validity. I'm probably a little bit I'm like, it's
You
out
can
there,
have
it's
a little
popular. I
fun
probably
with
know.
it.
It's more the animals that I take issue with because I've
Yeah.
seen it before. And it's funny, Haley and I we were doing like a conflict thing, different ways you approach conflict for a client training, and they were putting like animals next to the different things, and I was like, no animals, take the animals out. I'm like, people get weird about animals.
They
It's
do.
not so much the spirit of what the assessment is telling them. It's just they either like a parrot or they don't. They want to be
Right.
the dolphin, right? They get all hung up on the animal. So that's
Yeah.
where I was laughing about
Yeah.
this. Like, I don't want to be the boa
Right.
constrictor. I want to be the tiger too, right? And it's like, no, Bob, nobody's actually going to be an animal. Like, no,
Oh,
you don't
nobody
have
wants to be a
to.
boa
You
constrictor,
don't
right?
have to hiss or roar or whatever.
No.
That's not the. But we're just having fun,
Yes.
right?
I'm okay, so Jungle Motives has, a jungle cat.
And she's like, there's no snake, and now I feel the need to tell you.
Now I have to tell you
A
what they are.
jungle cat, which is
Jungle
like a
cat,
rar tiger.
right, yes, a bear, a monkey, and monkey, and I can't think of the 4th one. That's how helpful it is. But it's any kind of tool that can help people just explore and talk about communication
Sure. And
styles
we
and
loved
yeah,
imagery, mapping people
yeah.
out. I mean, obviously, I'm going to take an issue with like, where is this jungle that there's both a bear and a tiger? Like the bear lives in a jungle.
This
Interesting.
does
I think a
not
bear's being
sound
invaded, but what
realistic.
do I know?
Exactly.
I'm not an expert.
Silliness. Absolute
It's
silliness.
just fun. I don't know. I had to mess with you a little bit because it was funny. I'm like, jungle motives. Like, where am I right now? I've never heard MaryAnn mention this before.
Right. And there came transatlantic Karen. Everyone, have you met transatlantic Karen?
I did it earlier too. What were we doing earlier with the monocle?
Yes.
Fetch me my forget what it was.
Hey, fetch me my poem.
Hey, fetch me
my
my poem.
monocle.
Get me my poem and my monocle. Yeah, that was really more I don't know if I went Victorian there, but yeah, the transatlantic, yeah, that's when I'm just
I like her.
starring in a classic film from the 40s. But we digress.
I love it.
One of the other things, the rule, right? I think the golden rule, treat people the way you want to be treated. That was one of the other things that came up in this episode.
Mhm. And I think actually you mentioned that a few minutes ago.
Yes.
And I think I remember in the moment with Paul, I thought about saying, Paul, there are actually people who say, don't treat people the way we want to be treated, treat
Right.
people the way they want to be treated. And I thought, I'm going to back off on lecturing my podcast guest. So I did not do that, but it's so great that that was what you thought of too.
I'm not lecturing Paul. No, I think it's just that it's a different version of it, right?
Yeah.
And I think the golden rule is what a lot of us were taught growing up, and then maybe we revised it to the platinum rule, but it's really the spirit is the same around like you're trying to do right by people, right? So it's
Yes.
just that it's more of a verbiage thing. I think where I found it actionable around treat people the way they want to be treated. I can think of an experience of a leader who was like, I don't need praise. Like, I don't need that.
Mhm.
And it was translating into, and therefore maybe he didn't feel it necessary to provide praise to his team. And so it's kind of that, understanding of, but what does your team need?
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
I think we can sometimes get hung up on that, if we're taking it literally, treat others the way you want to be treated. Well, I don't need praise, so they don't either. So it's
Right.
really respecting all of us as individuals to say,
Yeah.
how can I do right by people? And how am I making sure I'm taking individuality into account?
Yeah. It's huge. It's kind of the next step, which I think a lot of us are doing. And I see this in how we're parenting now, that a lot of us are recovering from our childhoods, which I think people have done throughout time. And it is part of it just how we make sense of the world. So some of it we end up taking ownership around, like I interpreted something differently than it was meant. Or
Mhm.
my parents had the best of intentions, of course, lovely humans, these different elements.
Yeah.
Um, but we're trying to not make the same mistakes our parents did, but in doing so, making other mistakes.
Oh,
So
yeah. I mean, I can't wait to hear the laundry list later from my fully grown and evolved children for them to be like, here's what we don't do anymore. And it's like, okay, cool, got it.
yes, but have I told you about the gaslighting on VeggieTales?
What? What?
Okay, so the kids were watching VeggieTales the other morning. Yes.
I'm leaning in.
Yes,
Tell
the
me
kids were
more.
watching VeggieTales, and it was the story of Moses being placed in the reeds, and the big sister Miriam
Yep.
places him in the basket, places him in the reeds, and, watches, and the princess gets baby Moses.
Mhm.
Well, the story from the VeggieTales perspective was about Miriam being jealous of the baby, and that now Miriam doesn't get attention anymore. And so mom is going off and they're having to work or do whatever it is. So Miriam is like 5 or 6 probably is the little VeggieTales. She's a carrot. She's a 5 or 6-year-old carrot.
Oh,
And she's taking care of Moses during the day. And she was a real toot about it. She did not have a positive attitude. And so mom came home from her hard day slaving away wherever she was and gaslights the heck out of Miriam and is like, Miriam, nothing has changed, honey. Things are just the same way that they always were, and mommy needs your help. And totally invalidating Miriam's feelings about having been replaced and not getting to be a kid anymore. And I'm watching it like, are you kidding?
were you like experiencing trauma while you were watching it? You were like, this is no idea.
What occurred to me though was that was the message. That was good parenting when we were little,
Sure.
and how different that is. And
You're wrong.
right, you are wrong, and you
What
shouldn't
you are
feel this way.
experiencing is inaccurate.
Right. Yeah, this is actually
And
what you're not
invalid.
actually happening. But
Right.
I'd not seen it so literally, and it was like, how much has changed? Where that like the truth is, and what I would see as truth in that situation is, this is hard, isn't it, baby? Like things have changed. This is really different, and that I imagine that you're sad, and I imagine that it is hard to not get to be the baby the way that you were. And
Yeah.
then also things have changed, and I want to make some room for how we can do things together so that you get to experience being the baby because you'll always be my baby. And then also, this is a hard time for our family, and we're all having to take on different roles. And what the situation is asking of you is da 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 da. Like,
Right.
to get like the space to have this emotion and not, you can't have this emotion. But it was,
Right. Or your emotion is making me feel bad, so we need to shut it
you're
down.
not going to be allowed to
Right.
have this emotion. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was,
You're making me feel bad by saying this. So therefore we're not going to do it.
yeah.
Right.
But,
You don't get to have an emotion, and it's not safe to share your emotions with me because I'll make it about me.
yes. And none of this went through the mom's mind.
Well, she probably was a carrot. So don't run that snort. This is the best times.
But what we were talking about 5 minutes ago,
Yes.
you
Bring it home.
cannot do better unless you know better. None of that went through her mind, that she was shutting down her daughter. She was doing the carrot was doing the best that she could
The
to
best she
cope
could in that moment.
with the 5-year-old baby carrot, right?
Right. Right. Her intentions were good.
And that was, our parents didn't mean to gaslight us. Gaslighting wasn't a thing. They were afraid of our emotion. And so they asked us to separate from it. And we did.
Yes. And now generationally, we're all reconnecting to it.
Yeah.
Right. Wild. And how different it will be. Like I still am like, let's see what my kids say when they're grown. But I think, for both of us, having olders that were big enough to articulate their feelings because of the age gap between first and second, to really have those conversations, or a version of that conversation. Whereas if they're really close in age, it's happening, right? And maybe they're not, they're not old enough to be able to articulate it.
That's right.
But just having that beautiful space of saying like, wow, how do we care for the experience of this individual in this time, and help, how do we walk through this together? That's solutioning.
That's
Versus like, it's not happening, it's all in your mind. And this means that you hate your baby brother, or baby sister, or whatever. Like, no, we don't put that on a small child. Like, right? So
100%. I can't
Paul
wait.
didn't even know he was going to take us here. And
I can't wait to tell Paul that what we talked about when we debriefed his episode was Veggie Tales.
Yeah. And you're like, moment, Paul, this is what we discussed. And he'll be like,
and parents gaslighting their children.
She's a carrot.
She is the carrot. That's maybe my favorite moment.
I'm just like, maybe if she were a cucumber, she would have done better. We don't know.
Cucumbers do better.
That's what I've heard.
That's the theme.
That's the thing.
Everybody, thanks for joining us for another breakdown. Breakdown now of your work. And Karen, thanks for being here. And everybody, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.